Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. It is another Workshop Wednesday. This week, we're doing a Getting Started edition. So this is going to be for those of you that are beginners, and we're going to talk about using the advertising reports in Google Analytics 4. Before we go too far into this, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. If this is your first Workshop Wednesday, definitely welcome to you. I actually do go by Mercer. Everybody calls him Mercer. You should as well. And I'm the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io, and maybe you found us through the podcasts and talks that we give out there. We share some of our content with other platforms like CXL Institute, Digital Marketer, Measure Summit, or Social Media Examiner. Maybe you're already a member over at measurementmarketing.io and part of that community. Either way, we are happy that you are here. It's our job to help people like you learn how to use all these crazy fun tools, especially like Google Analytics 4. And of course, we also offer our flagship training, which is the Measurement Marketing Academy. More on that a little bit later on. In particular, when it comes to this lesson, we want to focus on one thing. Remember, we do this with all of our trainings. You want to think about the one aspect of these advertising reports that you can start to use today to build a skill. Then you can come back, rewatch this workshop, pick up another new one thing, practice that. And that is how you start learning to use these platforms without getting overwhelmed. So please just focus on that one thing concept. All right, let's go ahead and officially get underway. Getting started using advertising reports in GA4, otherwise known as Google Analytics 4. Now, of course, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here in just a moment. All right, so I have pulled up officially the Google Analytics demo store account. That's what I have here. And what we're going to look for in Google Analytics 4 are these advertising reports. So what we're talking about is not this little level here. This is where it sort of dumps you when you first get into it. We're looking here. So there are the regular reports. There are the Explorer reports, which we use for analysis, that sort of thing, asking like why this thing is happening, those sort of questions. Then there's advertising reports, which are a series of reports that are focused on conversions, which is what we really want to look at. So we're going to click where it says advertising, and you're going to see this whole thing will change, and it'll load up the advertising reports themselves. And you can see those loading here. So first things first, I'm going to cover a sort of overall how to use these reports and what the different sections are. And then I'm going to show you in the measurementmarketing.io Google Analytics 4 account some of the things that you can adjust and some of the settings that you can adjust. And I'll show you those as well, because there are some things that are permission based here that if you don't have the right permissions, you won't be able to play around with. So I'll show you those as we go through. First things first, basic reporting stuff. You always have the date range, so you want to make sure that you've got your date set up. It's always the last 28 days by default currently, but you can switch that around if you want. So you can always adjust your dates as you can with all reports. You can add filters, but that is a permissions thing. You want to make sure you have the proper permissions to add filters. More on that a little bit later on. You can also click this to what they say, edit comparisons. It's essentially the same thing. It adds filters. So if you click on this, you'll see, oh, there's filters there. But again, we'll show you that in a second, but just know that you can do that either way here. You can, of course, share it with others. And then you've got this insights feature. This one, take with a grain of salt. It's Google's early attempts at machine learning and AI to give you sort of insights into what's working and what's not, but it's really basic questions, which you can probably find a little bit faster than using that, but it's there. I think that's one of those like, hey, stay tuned to this space. It's going to be pretty cool, but not right now, maybe in the future. All right. So when you first come into this report, you see this advertising snapshot. This is like the overview, the overall kind of performance of what's going on. So first, and this is not quite as intuitive. I think a lot of people are going to miss this, but this right here is in Universal Analytics, there was a way to see like, oh, I'm measuring for certain results like e-commerce results or conversions at goals that you had set up. Remember, in GA4, there are just conversions. That's it. They're just these conversion events. So this by default will measure every conversion event. So then you have to come in here and say, no, I'm just thinking about purchases as a conversion, or I'm just thinking about the first visit as a conversion. And this is automatically going to be whatever you have determined or your Google Analytics 4 has determined is a conversion event. So remember, you have to set that up first. And then once you have a conversion event, it'll show up back here automatically. Now, the purchase, if you have set up your Google Analytics 4 e-commerce and you've done that automatically, it automatically is a conversion event. It's one of the few events that is, no matter what, it is a conversion event. They just sort of count it as a conversion event by default. So you at least have purchase back here. Otherwise, these are ones that Google had actually just customized as conversions. So we're going to keep all of these set out just for sake of example. But in the real world, you would come in and say, okay, I just want to analyze a specific conversion, not any conversion. And by default, it does all conversion events. So I just very quickly make sure that you notice this, because mostly you're probably not asking the question, what caused any possible conversion? You're asking the question, what caused a specific conversion? So that's, you want to choose the conversion you're trying to get to, the result you're trying to measure for, and then the entire platform will adjust to that. The reports will adjust to that. So very, very, very important first step is always starting and making sure you're looking at the right conversion. Once you have that, then the rest of these reports will adjust to that. And what it basically shows us here are the conversions, right? And this dictated by whatever this is up here. In this case, by default channel grouping. Now, this is what Google has created as their default channel grouping. If you click on this Learn More, you will actually see a thing load up that'll talk about how it defines each one of these, which is great because it didn't used to do that. But now they define and say, okay, here's how you define organic search. Here's how we define direct. Here's how we define referral, paid search, affiliates, etc. It is important to understand. In fact, I am going to go ahead and click on this because I think it is that important. So I'm going to click on it. It says Learn More. Actually, it's not what I wanted to do. I should have controlled and clicked. So let me back up a second here. And this is why I shouldn't have clicked on that, because I knew it was going to take a second for Google to load. That's okay. In the student edition to this, our editor is going to take this piece out. So that everybody else doesn't, our academy students don't have to wait as much. Okay, so let's get back to our loading up our reports, back to where we were. I'm just going to hover over default channel grouping. All right. So we're going to go ahead and click where it says Learn More. I'm going to hit Control click so it opens as a new tab. It's a little PC trick I love using. And that pulls up our default channel grouping. The thing you want to look at is this stuff right here. Very important. Here's why I'm saying it's important. It knows, Google Analytics 4 knows that affiliates is a default channel. It automatically has that. You can't change this, at least not as of this recording. Maybe in the future, I'm sure you will, but not yet. So this is the default group. How does it know something is an affiliate? If the medium, think about UTMs now, if your medium is affiliate or if it's affiliates, it'll show up as affiliate traffic. Well, guess what? On ours, we call our affiliate traffic partner traffic. So it's medium of partner, which means it would not work and it would not show up in our default channel grouping. This is why I'm emphasizing that you really need to understand default channel groupings, because it might cause you to change how you UTM things. It certainly is doing that for us. So we're going to adjust that so that we can actually take advantage of affiliate traffic. Otherwise, this affiliate partner group will never fill for us because it's not, accounting for partner. And hopefully, if Google's listening, they add partner into that one day, because that would be really nice to include that as well. All right. So that's the groups and how you can see, what is what and how they define it. And of course, if it doesn't have a definition, it shows up in this unassigned, kind of like the other box. That's kind of what this is. So this shows you the number of conversions by group based on whatever it is that you're trying to measure for conversions here. In fact, what I am going to do, let's go through and just say we're looking at purchases for now. So we can see all the different channels light up for the number of purchases that came through for conversions during this date range. So you also have your insights. You have a little getting started section to learn more about these reports. So you can go through these at your leisure. The main part is going to be here to see a general count. Then if you scroll down, you see conversion paths and you see your models, your attribution models. Again, from an overview perspective, I think this particular report is useful. I think this is very important to make sure you get used to controlling which conversion events you're looking for, but you're probably not going to spend a lot of time in this report. You're going to be drilling down into one of these two. So either it's a conversion paths or it's model comparison. Either way, when you click to these, it basically just goes to these. So we're going to use this right here. So we're going to click where it says model comparison now. And now I'm going to go into attribution modeling. Now this is an interesting thing. Interesting because I think anything that is like attribution models are kind of one of those things where you can just change the model and you get totally different answers, and it's really weird. And I'm like, anything like that is like, is it really a real thing? Maybe. Okay. I'm not personally a fan of attribution modeling. I just like using last click and then tying very tight windows and measuring customer journey at multiple steps. And I like measuring more conversions. That's kind of how we do it. It works out really, really well for us. However, that may not be your style. So you've got the conversion events. Remember, this carries over, which is why it's so important to focus on that even at the overview stage. Choose the conversion event. It's going to carry over. In this case, it's looking at purchases. And now what it's doing is it's saying, okay, still have this default channel grouping, only now we can switch it around. So we can say, I want to do source medium or medium or campaign. I like looking at source medium because we use UTM so often. It's a little more useful for me, especially if something like, in our case, the partner traffic doesn't come through in the affiliate channel. It would be shown as an unassigned channel, and I'll show you that in a second. And so it can be harder to kind of see what's working and what's not. So here, when you break down source medium, you see all this different stuff that lights up. Oh, look at that. They have a little newsletter email they're doing. Good job with Google doing the source medium there. So now we've got the emails coming through. I can see the number of conversions that came from this email, like in this particular case. And this is the last click, right? That's what this is, cross-channel last click. They also have ads preferred last click. This is Google ads preferred. So you got to make sure that you're linking your Google account into Google Analytics 4, part of the setup and how you customize Google Analytics 4. But once you've done that, then you'll be able to adjust to ads preferred last click, which means even if there was a click, like an email that caused the sale, if there was an ads click before that, it would try to attribute it to that if it can. So that's what essentially that's basically doing. Otherwise, this cross-channel stuff I think is perfectly fine. So I like last click. It's kind of my preferred model because I can measure to different conversions that I'm looking for. And remember, if I want to change a conversion and say, well, I don't really care about purchase, but I want to see what started the checkout process, I can just flip to that conversion event and then see how many people actually started the checkout. You see the numbers change pretty dramatically here because more people are starting the checkout, of course, than are finishing the checkout. So we have that coming through. Now, there is no revenue associated with that in this particular case because revenue is not generated with a checkout. It's only generated with a purchase, which is why revenue goes down to 0. But again, that's all right because we're just measuring for this particular conversion. Now, the next thing you have here is you can see, right, you've got cross-channel, you've got cross-channel linear model. So what this is doing is this is saying, well, here's how many conversions that we're directly responsible for, right? The last click before, Google Organic was the last known click, last known attributable click before the conversion. But if we look at it a different way and we say linear model, which is where everything's weighted equally through multiple journeys of a customer journey, then it's only really gotten 23 point whatever, so roughly 2400. If we go to first click, you start to see things adjust. And it says, well, if we give it to first click, it'll change again. Now it's only 2271 that it gets. So it gives you a chance to compare and contrast different models. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of this, again, because, I know there's lots of people that use attribution modeling. I get it. I understand the reason that it exists. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't like my answer. I want to make sure that Facebook's getting credit. So I'll flip it to first click, or I want to make sure Google Ads is getting credit. So I'm going to flip it to last click. And it is kind of open to interpretation. So I like keeping it last click and I like measuring multiple conversions. Those of you who have watched our trainings before, you know about ACE goals, where we talk about awareness goals, completion goals, and engagement goals, and measuring different stages of a customer journey, and then having those as conversion events coming through so you can very quickly see what traffic source is doing what, and what's good at awareness, what's good at completion, what's good at engagement. So I personally like that. I think it's an easier way for you to actually get something useful, and more importantly, to get some feedback to actually adjust your marketing to improve results. However, this is where you would do it. You would still do it in this report under your model comparison report. Now, the other thing, I think this particular one, this conversion path that we're going to come into, this one's a little more useful from an understanding if we think about measurement marketing and this concept of we're listening to the audience, we're listening to our users, and we're trying to figure out how are they moving through the site and what's working, what's not, is this thing working the way it's supposed to, right? We're always trying to do that. So I like this one because it shows us multiple stages, multiple touch points, and it has attribution in it. But it's not comparing different models. So this one compares different models back to back. If that's your cup of tea, you can definitely use that. However, I like this one, this conversion paths one. So here's how this works. You've got the early touch points, you've got mid touch points, you've got late touch points, right? And by default, this is doing channel grouping. So I can again flip it. Now here's the only drawback. It doesn't have source medium, it just has source, medium, or campaign that we can use currently. So I'm going to keep it. Let's just keep it for source for now. Now that will change down here. So you'll see instead of these channel groupings, now you have different sources coming through. So we have that, so I can change that. And then it uses the last click model. So what's happening is visually, this is showing us, okay, last click, which means nothing's getting credit for first touch. Nothing is getting touched in the middle part here. It's only getting the last touch click, right? So these are the only things that are going to show up because it's last click. So here's everything that gets credit by source. In this case, I'm going to flip it back to default channel grouping because there's a little less of those. So we can group it up. So you can see, okay, there's search, there's our direct, there's our referral, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how many conversions they are creating. Now, again, which conversion? Same thing you've already set up. In this case, we left off at begin checkout. I could flip it back to purchase, and it'll change everything to reflect purchase. And of course, we'll see revenue at that point as well. So I have my late touch points, but here's the beauty of this particular conversion paths report. I could flip this to, let's say, first click. Now, what should happen when I do that? Well, if it's giving the channel, in this case, the default channel, if it's giving the channel, the first channel that interacts with the user that eventually creates some sort of conversion, in this case, the purchase that we're looking at, right? That's the story we're looking for here. Then that means all the information should be here on the early touch points, and then nothing would get credit on these blocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here. We're going to click on first click. And as you can see, all of a sudden, the mid touch points and the late touch points don't have any data because they're not supposed to get any credit. All the credit's going to the first touch point, which in this case was direct. Now remember, when we did the last click, it was organic that was getting all the credit, but here direct actually gets all the credit. So it seems like there's a lot of people going directly to the site that are eventually converting, but not necessarily converting on that day, just eventually. Then we can do something like this. I can do a linear, which is everything's got equal footing. And now you can start to see the mid touch points will start to fill in. So organic search pretty much across the board, but all of a sudden late touch point, direct comes back in when we do it like that. We can flip this to a different model, which is called time decay, which is the further back the traffic source was, the less credit it gets. But you start to see now here's early touch points, mid touch points, late touch points. And you start to get an idea of how this works together, at least how the different, in this case, default channel groupings are coming into play throughout the customer journey, throughout the multiple touch points to move them to a conversion. And again, in this case, the specific conversion is purchase, right, that we're looking for. So then if we scroll down here, we see this. We see what they call conversion paths. So this is telling us they came direct, people that came direct and then purchased, right? And I'm going to flip this to last click again, just to keep it consistent because I like using last click. So this would be all focused on everything getting credit right here. So I can see direct getting conversions, 743 conversions that it got, right? So last click got conversions. There's the revenue that was generated by this channel. We've got the number of days it took on average, which is, not a whole lot in this case, and the number of touch points. So the people that came direct and just bought basically on the same day, which is what this says, one time, right? That's it. They bought. There was a lot of stuff. So a lot of people coming direct. Also could be an email that maybe wasn't UTM'd properly. Just a thought, because they have a lot of traffic and I'm not seeing an email coming through here. So my guess is probably some UTM opportunities for Team Google to pull that out a little bit. Now, organic search is the second. Now, what this shows is times 2, which means they went to organic search, they did not buy. Then they organic searched again, probably on Google, right? Did a little search on a search engine, came back and then bought. So 2 touches is what was required here, caused 160 conversions, $16,000 in revenue, roughly 4 days to actually get that done, 2 touch points. You can see here there's only 1 touch point. People that came in organic search and bought right away happened, but only 108 times for $6,000 of revenue. Took them a few days still to go through that process. Number of times 3, you've got referrals coming in. So this starts to show kind of a connection between the different channel groupings and how they operate, right? That's all this is really for. And again, we have 191 of these total. So if I scroll up to 250, and I'm going to make this entire row show. Remember, we had 191. In Universal Analytics, by the way, it's always down in lower right. So in GA4, this number is up at the top here. So this should show us shortly rows per page if we let that load. I'm just going to give this a second to wait. Google's probably taking a little while. I have noticed GA4 is just a little bit slower. There we go. I think we've got our rows coming in now. Perfect. So now I'm going to start to scroll down a little bit. So we've got 250 rows to show, a lot more data. Give GA4 some time because it crunches the data a little differently. So we're going to come down here. You can start to see this stuff happen. So what this is, different channels interacting. You remember, you can flip this to different sources interacting as you go through as well. So we can flip this default channel grouping to our source medium campaign. Cannot yet do source medium. That's really what I would like to see. But at least the source, the medium, and campaign. But you can see the interactions, right? So we can see the interactions as they're coming through. So people that were referral a couple times and they did organic search a couple of times, then they did referral, then organic search, then referral more, organic search more, referral more, organic search a whole lot more. And that path related or created 13 different sales. Now, this is where it gets a little somewhat not as useful. It's nice to know what somebody did. It's nice to know they went through all these different stages and steps. However, when you're going fishing, it's not important for you to know where every single fish in the ocean is. You just need to know where most of the fish are most of the time. That's how you know where you're going to improve your probability to catch a fish. And the same thing with marketing is kind of true as well. It's not important to know that every single person did this, because you're not going to go out there and now replicate this journey a million times. That's not the idea. But it's like, why is somebody coming in from other sites? Why are they searching so much? What might they be looking for that you might be able to shorten this journey? That's something you can look at. Is there a lot of that pattern of referral to organic? Like, here's organic to referral. Here's organic referral. Again, referral is tough because what exactly is this? This is where I think I like switching it more to source of traffic versus channels, because channels are kind of too general sometimes to actually see a story. So you can flip this thing around, different types of traffic, different campaigns, that sort of thing. But you can start to see the interaction, especially between referral and organic. That's the pattern I'm thinking through here. So remember, when it comes to using an analytics platform, it's not about the numbers. It's truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. And that's what I'm looking for. So right now I see a pattern of referral to organic, referral to organic, referral to organic, right? There's a lot of that. And it's worth digging into. What is the referral? And what are those different sources, and why are they causing organic searches versus just closing the deal, right? So maybe there's some messaging there. I would also scroll down to see some other patterns that might appear as well. In this case, they don't have a whole lot, so it's just a lot of organic search, and this makes sense. It's a little more Google focused, but that's the idea. It's what I like. That's why I like this report a little bit more in the advertising section than I do the model comparison report. I don't think that's all that particularly useful, unless I'm an advertiser. If I'm a traffic guy, I'm going to love to do that. If I'm running traffic, I'm going to want to prove my traffic source works, and model comparisons are a great way to do that. But as the marketer, right, as a measurement marketer, conversion paths are a lot more useful. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our Google Analytics 4. I'm going to bring that up here for you. So this is our Google Analytics 4. And I've just got a couple of conversions set up in this little demo account. So we've got the purchase and the leads. So let's just say we're measuring for leads. So I'm going to click on apply. This should show me now just leads. This is the main thing I was telling you about before. Now, what I wanted to show you was two things. One is always look up here, because this will tell us, this little green checkbox, get used to looking at these in GA4. This will tell you if you're being sampled or if there's a select percentage of data that it's looking at, anything like that. I'm going to show you why this is important, because I'm going to add a filter, and I can because I own this account. Notice how this looks here. Adding a filter, you see this whole thing pop up. Let me show you what Google Analytics 4 does on the demo account for Google, because it's kind of tricky. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go add a filter, and granted, I'm on a different page, but the concept is applied. If I click on filter here, actually, I am going to just for apples to apples comparison. Let me go back to the advertising snapshot. Plus, we're going to give Google GA4 some time to recoup, because I was loading all 250 of those rows and it really confused itself. Give me just a second. I'm going to get it back set up because I have clearly confused Google Analytics again. Got to go slow with Google Analytics 4. It's kind of a new platform. It's building its muscle. I clearly confused it. I'm going to give it a chance. We're going to click on advertising snapshot one more time. That's going to load us up. All right. So now we're at advertising snapshot. If I click on add filter here, this is going to pop this up, so I can come through here. And now I can actually set up a filter. Actually, I can do that. So earlier, I could not do that. This was a little buggy, so that's good to know. But here, this is great. So now I can come in, I can select, city or age or whatever it is. I am, for sake, because theirs is running a little slow, sadly. So we're going to pull ours back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in where it says age, and then I'm going to say, okay, dimensions values. I can say I want to see 18 to 24, 25 to 34, and 35 to 44. I'm going to add another condition. Let's do gender, and let's say we're just looking for female gender. Click on OK. Now I can build a segment. That's all this really is, just a segment. So I can apply that. That is what filters. Now I can see my age and that it's looking at female. So I can see that. Now I'm a little more focused. So know that you can do this, and know that this changed. See how it changed to a percentage? So now if I hover over that, it says, okay, it's based on all the data. However, there are some that's been removed because there's a threshold put in place. The threshold is being just this filter. That's all this is. And if I want this out, remember this customized report is just also available right here, same widget. If I want this out, I can just click it off and then it brings everything back. So I wanted you to be able to see that because there is that issue. And GA4, and this has happened to me on the demo account, which is what I was hoping I could show you, but it's not actually doing it now. It wasn't working. It wouldn't let me customize. It would click on a button and just sort of be like, nope, we're not going to let you do that. So there might be a little bugs here and there. However, if you have a question about it, just make sure you have permissions. Give you all the permissions that you need. The other thing I wanted to show you that is something you will need permissions for, so that's why I'm showing you on our live account here, is in the admin section. Where do you set up like this default attribution and what the look back windows are and all of that? It's under the property settings in GA4. You see a section called attribution settings. Now, if you've set up your Google Analytics 4 account months and months ago, maybe early in 2021, this wasn't a thing. It didn't exist. Now it does. So you have to come back here and you want to make sure this is our default. So you can say, oh, I'm going to do, ads preferred last click. If I'm a Google Ads person, that's what I'm going to want. But I'm going to use cross channel. I think that's the most useful one. So I like keeping that there. Then you have your look back window. So what this does, this is directly affecting your advertising reports. They use this stuff. So this is where it says, okay, you want me to look for a conversion of a lead or a purchase or whatever the conversion event is. From that point in time, how many days back should I look? And that's what these look back windows are, right? So that's what these look back windows are. So the recommendeds are the defaults. Yours probably says 30 days and 90 days. I like tightening them up because my traffic sources are designed to get a certain result in a much shorter period of time, not anytime in the next 30 days. So I like tightening things up when it comes to this particular stuff. It works for us, right? For our own digital marketing model, it works just fine. If you have a longer sales cycle, you need to see more interaction because your customer journey is a little bit slower, then I would stretch it out to 90 days. For us, we're not going to do that. I'm going to keep it 30 days. That's currently working for us. We'll change that later if it doesn't. No big deal, right? But this is where you set this stuff up and where you actually set up those settings. So just make sure that you know to do that as well, because that's what these advertising reports actually use. That's the actual setup itself. So with that, we will officially bring this one to a close. Now, remember, when it comes to using this stuff, the framework is important, right? The framework is important. We do plan, we do build, we do launch when it comes to the measurement framework. In the beginning, we're marketing the blind. At the end, we're trying to get to the point where our marketing is reliably producing revenue and results. So how do these advertising reports fit into this? Well, you can ask better questions if you know that you can collect that information in those advertising reports, and you can think about the actions you want to take based upon the answers that you're getting to those, right? How is Facebook doing? How is Google Ads doing? How is my email doing in causing results, causing conversions? The build, the results is absolutely necessary because you got to make sure that you set up conversion events, right? If you don't have the conversion event actually set up in Google Analytics, it's not going to have any data in the advertising report. So very important you set up conversion events. Incredibly important, we talked about earlier, that you set up your traffic properly using UTMs, making sure that you learn how those default channel groupings work. We saw how to get to that page so we can actually get a better understanding of our traffic. And of course, making sure you have things like cross-domain, everything else set up in Google Analytics 4 so that it's stitching those two things together, tying together your traffic to your results and making sure your attribution is connected. At that point, you should be able to use those advertising reports to listen into that customer journey, to listen into the customer conversation, to understand those conversion paths and see what are users doing and what are the different touch points that they're using to get from, conversion to conversion to conversion. Then we can then forecast, right? We can start saying, okay, well, we start to understand how things are working. We can then start to say how things are most likely going to work in the future. That's our forecasts. And then we measure against our forecast. That tells us what to optimize. So we know exactly what's working and what's not. So we can fix it. If something's not working the way we think it is or not performing at the rate that we think it should be performing, we can dial in and fix it because we're going to know. We're going to know exactly what that spot is. That is the measurement marketing framework and why the advertising reports can be so useful because they touch a lot of these different steps and the different keys in each one of those steps. All right, with that, we'll officially bring this one to a close. What was your one thing? I know for me, it was the conversion paths. I like that. I really wish they would outsource Medium for those, but I figure it's in one of the reports, so maybe eventually it'll come out in the other. Remember, Google Analytics 4, as of this recording, which is September 2021, is still new-ish, right? Still new-ish. It's about 85% done. So by 2022, I would imagine these reports would be dramatically different. Maybe about a year from now, there might be some other stuff there. And of course, we will do new videos at that point as well to keep you up to date. Speaking of new workshops, next week's workshop is Beyond Basics. We're going to go through 7 tips to design the perfect data studio report. Julie Brade, one of our guest instructors, is going to be showing you all sorts of cool things that you can do with styling with data studio reports. And if you are like me, you are pretty decent at the number part of things. I can make a data studio report, but I make very ugly data studio reports that nobody else wants to use except for me because they just look horrible. Julie is really good about making them look cool, and she's got some really cool tricks and tips that just aren't that hard and dramatically change things. So she's going to share those with you. If you want to make sure that you see that, just subscribe to the YouTube channel now. Thank you again, by the way, for all of our subscribers. We are just about to cross 2,500, which is fantastic. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and I love saying that week over week after week, and it's because of people like you watching this and subscribing and telling your friends and sharing it in whatever groups that you share it in, and Slack channels. We have people sharing it in Slack channels and saying, hey, it's a cool resource, check this thing out. So thank you for helping us continue to grow. Could not do it without you. There is another way that you can get workshops and more in particular tools that are featured in the workshops. That is the measurement marketing toolbox. So things like the traffic tracking toolkit, if you're trying to figure out your UTMs or how to set up ACE goals, that sort of thing. We've got tools for that amongst other things. They are back there. They are completely free. If you would like that, just go to measure.tips/ww, enter your name and email. It'll create an account for you. And you can have that compliments of measurementmarketing.io. Again, our way of sort of giving back to the community and helping you out, giving away those tools. And finally, if you are ready, if the time is right, Measurement Marketing Academy, I definitely invite you to take a look at that. That is our flagship program. We built this platform. It's a just-in-time learning platform. We built the Academy to get you through this, to go through all the stages of the measurement marketing framework, right? To go through this journey together over and over and over again. The framework's not something you use once. Use it over and over and over again at whatever stage that you're at. So a very quick tour of the Academy itself as I go through. I'm going to pull up ours right here. This is our dashboard. So you have access to essentially these 6 blocks when you become an Academy member. You've got our courses, the on-demand workshops, and the toolbox. This is primarily the content. And you've got support options through either Winner Circle, which is the community of members, and of course the instructors back here able to help you out. So let's go through these one at a time very quickly. The Win courses look like this. We organize these by date. You can see here we've got the measurement marketing framework. Last month we did Google Analytics 4 Basics. A month before that, Google Optimize. A month before that, GTM server side. So you can see we keep up to date on the courses that are back here. They're also organized by topic. So if you wanted to come back and see all the Google Analytics stuff, here's what it is, including Google Analytics 4, which is just redone in August. So we have that. Tag manager, etc. Beyond basics and basics. So if you're just getting started, you do the basics. If you've been around for a little while, time to level up your skills, do beyond basics. Then eventually you do things like server side moving in there. So lots of things here for all the platforms like Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio especially, but also strategy stuff, which is just, I think the real secret sauce to this isn't the tools. I would love to say that knowing analytics is going to make you a rock star, but it isn't. I know lots of people who know how to use Google Analytics, but really can't get anything done with it because they don't understand the strategies behind measurement as it relates to marketing. And that's what we're for. We're here for people who just kind of the normal people who want to figure out how to improve their marketing and know that they should be using these tools, but just haven't figured out how to do it on their own. That's what we're here for. So we help you out with that. We have a lot of strategy courses of how to think about how to optimize stuff, your optimization strategy, building a measurement plan, for learning how to forecast and think about forecasting in an organization. So all of those are the courses themselves. That's just the Win courses here, unlimited. You get access to all the updates, all the new courses we create, to update or a new course. That's kind of how we operate. Next is these on-demand workshops. So that looks like this. You can see this is the one we are currently doing for Workshop Wednesday, but then all of these are edited down. In fact, this one is a perfect example because we had those weird delays with Google Analytics 4 taking a while to load. Well, that's all going to get snipped out, cut out. Parts like this where I'm touring the Academy, this is going to get snipped out and cut out. And it's made for our members, right? So this is the members only view where they can come in, they can go to a specific workshop and get caught up. Because a lot of members, the whole goal is for you to not come in here and watch a bunch of videos because who's got time for that? It's for you to come in and get answers you need to get unstuck and on the way so you can improve your results. So we've got their little workshops set out, with helpful resources, key points, takeaways, related workshops, etc. So, and remember, this is just the 2 bits of content that you have access to. This is kind of the on-demand stuff that you can kind of do 24/7 on your own time. The other thing that we use workshops for is for if there's a new update, something like when Google Tag Manager preview mode came out. It was like this brand new thing. And, we can't recreate a course overnight, but we can do a workshop overnight. And so we would create a workshop for it to help people understand the latest and greatest things. When Google Analytics 4 comes out with things, we create workshops for them. And then eventually we will go back and update the courses. Typically they're updated at least on an annual basis. In the case of Google Analytics 4, we did it 3 times so far this year. And I would imagine in 6 months we'll be doing it again. But that's okay. That's how we roll. And Google Analytics 4 is a cool platform. So we will continue to do that. That's just the content here. Then there's the toolbox. The toolbox are the resources, the tools that we give out. This is also the stuff we give out for free. So again, for those that are interested in toolbox membership, you get access to all these tools for free. Everything here you would have access to. Academy members have access to this additional thing, which is our Get It Done guides. So these are like little kit journeys where we can say, okay, here's how you build an Eyes on the Journey report, or here's how you build use your tag manager skills, your analytics skills, your data studio skills to build something really cool. Here's templates, to do all of that. So we build out these things to help people do slightly more complicated things, but that are useful. So we want to make sure that you have access to that. That again is for Academy members. And with that, you've got your courses, your workshops, and your toolbox. This is all the stuff that you can do kind of 24/7 whenever you feel like it. But you and I both know there are those times where you want to talk something out, you've got a question, and you need some help. So the first place you can go is Winner Circle. I'll kind of show you what that looks like. The community, it's organized in different groups. You can see here there's different discussions. People come through and start asking questions or helping each other out. And the beauty of this is there are some amazing people back here. This guy in particular, Stockton, he's one of our presenters at Measure Summit this year for Measure Summit 2021. But absolutely fantastic guy, knows his stuff inside and out, and he's back here helping members. He's got incredible stuff. Plus, sometimes he's got questions, and maybe he's not the expert on a platform like maybe Google Ads or something like that, but maybe you are, and so you would help him out with some stuff. And that's the whole beauty of this: is it's members helping members. Using their secret powers or superpowers, I should say, to help each other out, which is really, it's an awesome spot. That said, there are times where you don't want to ask a question in public for whatever reason. Maybe you can't show the data, or it's a client, it's a little sensitive. We get that. That's why Ask an Instructor support is there. This is by far the most popular part of the website. And unfortunately, the part I really can't necessarily show you because it is all personal questions. However, the way that it works is Ask Instructors in here. You just click on Ask a Question, pop in your question, pop in the description of the question. Love screenshots and videos. So drop in those screenshots and videos. Definitely. And they will actually go to our instructors. And then it's kind of like having people like us, people like me, imagine being able to call me over and say, hey, Mercer, can you take a look at this? Here's what I'm trying to do. Or I'm not even sure what a goal should be. Can you tell me what my conversion point should be? Or am I using this advertising report correctly? And create a quick little video that shows us how you're doing this stuff, or shows us how your setup is, or shows us what you're asking your strategy question about, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's strategy or implementation. Our instructors can handle both. As long as it's measurement related, we're there to help you out. So you can ask us questions. It then goes to our instructors, and the instructors can answer you back. If you're sending us videos and screenshots, 9 times out of 10, they're sending you videos and screenshots. And it really is like having a consultant on call. Now, again, not real time. Most questions are answered within 24 business hours, so keep that in mind. But it's typically answers within hours, not days. That's the idea. And you get personalized help and support because we all know how it works. I've seen a ton of YouTube videos where I'm like, oh, I tried it on my own and my tech stack is different and I don't know how to get help from YouTube because it's not, let's face it, it's not a great place to get help. It's a great place to get information, but not necessarily help. The Academy is where you go for support. And the Academy is where you go to really learn this stuff, and you get access again to all of these here as well. So take advantage of it. The entire thing is searchable too. So if you want to search for a particular topic, you can. It'll pull up all the courses and the workshops that relate to that topic. So there's a massive amount that you can do on your own. And when you need help, when you want somebody to, even just a fresh pair of eyes to look at a dashboard or something and give you some advice, it's here. Again, whether you're a strategy person or not, the Winner Circle or Ask Instructor support, whichever one you're more comfortable on, a lot of people do both, you can use those resources. So that is the Academy itself. Again, a just-in-time learning platform, an entire community. The highest points, again, at courses, the Ask Instructor support, on-demand library, the Winner Circle community. The courses, you get access to everything in those Win courses. So very focused courses, including all the updates, the Ask Instructor support. You get access to much of that as you want. It's kind of an all-you-can-eat plan. If you want to ask us 13 questions a day, you totally could. We love people asking questions. So please do that. It is unlimited. You've got the on-demand workshop library. That's back there. We do new workshops every single week because that's what these workshop Wednesdays get edited down into. So those are back there, a constantly growing library. And then Winner Circle community, just having that community of members like yourself, people that understand measurement marketing. Everyone speaks sort of the same language. They understand the destination everyone's trying to get to, but they all have different aspects to it. Some are better at technical SEO. There's lots of people better at Google Ads and Facebook ads than we are, but we're really good at strategy. And so we help out those things, and everybody helps each other out. It's an incredible, incredible place, especially in this turbulent world that we found ourselves in, where it seems like every day there's a new tool or there's a new reason we got to deal with iOS, 14.5 when that came out. It'll be iOS 15 soon enough when it comes to, how do we measure email responses? And this is the subject of communications that are and conversations that are happening back there in the Academy. So with that, it is access to over $8,500 in training and support each and every month that you are an Academy member. Of course, it is not $8,500 a month, at least not yet. So please take a look, join the Academy. Just go to measure.tips/getacademy. Take a look at our current options available for you. And we look forward to seeing you in the Academy soon. Again, measure.tips/getacademy will take you directly there. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. This has been Getting Started, using advertising reports in Google Analytics 4. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.